Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. So are you looking for an empowering book for your children? Well, you want to listen to this interview. Today we have special guest, Brad Meltzer, who's here to share with us his two new children's books. I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg and I Am Mr. Rogers, from his Ordinary People Change the World series. Well, it's always such a treat to have Brad Meltzer here to talk about his new books. Many of you know who Brad Meltzer is. He's a #1 New York Times bestselling author of 12 previous thrillers, including The Inner Circle, The Book of Fate, and The Escape Artist, with more than 11 million copies sold. He is a host of the television show Brad Meltzer's Lost History and Brad Meltzer's Decoded on the History Channel. In addition, Brad is the author of the blockbuster children's history book series, Ordinary People Change the World, a PBS Kids TV show based on his books with over 28 million viewers, was recently nominated for multiple Emmys and TCA awards. So let's welcome to the show, Brad Meltzer.
Oh, so good to be back.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about this new book, I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg. What inspired you to choose her for this next book?
As you know, it always comes back to my own kids. And this book series, as a children's book series, was started to give my kids better heroes to look up to, heroes of kindness and compassion, and of just trying to be good people. How do you teach your kids to be good people? I tell my kids all the time, having a big giant company doesn't make you a good person. You got to think about someone beyond yourself. And so that's where I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg came from, is trying to teach them a sense of justice and a sense of looking out for each other. And more important, just teaching my daughter her own potential, which is, I think, what Ruth Bader Ginsburg at the end of the day stands for all of us.
Well, I think for young women, that's so important, especially when we look at Ruth's history. I mean, she became an attorney when women weren't really attorneys.
And it's not only that, to me, it's even more, if I tell my daughter about who she was as an attorney or a Supreme Court justice, my daughter doesn't care. She's like, it's too far away. What we focus on, as we always do in the books, is when they're kids. So as a little girl, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she was growing up, just loved going, on adventures. She wanted to play tag and she wanted to climb trees and go to the roof of the building. And she was told back then, girls can't do that. It's her mother who breaks that stereotype. Her mother used to take her to the library when she was a little girl every Friday afternoon. And she would say, you could pick out 5 books, Ruth. And the books, among the ones she loved most, were about real heroes. Stories of Amelia Earhart, stories of Harriet Tubman. And it's there she learned arguably one of life's most valuable lessons that she's ever learned, which was there's absolutely nothing that little girls can't do. And I want my daughter to have that lesson. I want my sons to have that lesson. As a kid's book, for kids ages, 4 or 5 to 12 years old, that's what I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg is all about.
Well, it's so well done. And of course, the illustration, as always, it just draws you in. It's such a great book to give as gifts. What are some of the other books that you've worked on recently?
Yeah, so this is the 10-year anniversary of the Ordinary People Change the World series.
Oh my gosh,
So
congratulations.
I appreciate that. So the two newest are I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg and I Am Mr. Rogers, who, of course, Mr. Rogers, we all know and love Mr. Rogers, but what we focus on is Mr. Rogers, when he was a little boy, he was bullied. He was picked on. They used to chase him home from school and he would get angry at them. We all think of Mr. Rogers as some saint who never lost his temper, but he did. And when they used to chase him home, he got so mad, he sent away for one of those muscle catalogs to teach you how to be big and strong. He does the chin-ups, he does all the work, but none of it works. It's his mother who he sees that his mom, their family had a lot of money. And his mom finds out from the school nurse that there's a child in the school who can't afford new sneakers. And the mother, without taking credit for it, sends a new pair of sneakers to the nurse. The nurse gives them to the child. And then the nurse says, there's another kid who can't afford this, a jacket, and one who can't afford furniture. And the mom keeps buying all these things, sends them to the school nurse, never takes credit for buying any of them. What does Mr. Rogers learn from his mother right there? How to be a good neighbor. And that's where he learns that the most powerful things are not your muscles, but it's the things you can't see, like love and kindness. And I and it's his mother who, when he gets scared about what he sees in the news, and he's terrified about some scariness that he sees, his mother says those famous words that we all know, which is, look for the helpers. You can always find a helper. And I love the fact that's not Mr. Rogers. Those aren't his words. They're from his mom. So to me, those are the great lessons that I am Mr. Rogers or I am Ruth Bader Ginsburg offers. They teach you and your kids how to push back against the cynicism, how to make the world a better place, how to show kindness, how to find equality, and those values that we're missing. This is, to me, these books are the way to bring them back.
Well, these books have always been such a huge hit when I've given them away for gifts for friends of mine who have children. And it's interesting, the books are so well researched. I mean, you find out all these interesting little tidbits about each person that you're really diving into.
That's the fun for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she was a little girl, her mom didn't have birthday parties. She instead of having birthday parties for her at a certain age, she just would take her to the local Jewish orphanage, and she would have them give away ice cream to the orphans. And I love that idea. And what Ruth Bader Ginsburg saw as a little girl, she would see, injustice and hatred and unfairness. Those are what she called fractures in society, and they need to be repaired. And in that act of giving away that ice cream and losing her birthday party for it, she learns that lesson. It's not a lesson from law school, how to be a good person. It's a lesson from her mother. And of course, she uses the legal system to put good into the world. But to me, that's all these books are, is our way of teaching kids how to put some good into the world.
Well, and there's a book that we haven't talked about, You Can Change the World. Can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, I love this book. So that's our new book that's about to come out. And You Can Change the World is a compilation of 10 years of our best stories from each of our best heroes. So Amelia Earhart's in there, Abraham Lincoln, Rosa Parks, and Albert Einstein, and Mr. Rogers, of course. And it just goes through the best of. We take 10 years. We have 32 different heroes that we've done in this series. And we said, what's the best advice? Frida Kahlo. And each one has, an amazing thing. Like, as an example, on the spread for Amelia Earhart, it says, the greatest flight you're ever going to take is the one that no one's ever tried before. It says, I am Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds. And in Abraham Lincoln, it says, I'm Abraham Lincoln, and I will speak my mind and speak for others. It narrows down all those values into a kind of greatest hits. And I love the fact that You Can Change the World. It's going to be there as a graduation gift to people to give to birthdays and graduations. I am so excited for everyone to get to see it.
I can't wait. It's like, every time I see a new book of yours coming out, I get so excited because I usually will buy a few of them and hold on to them for gifts for later. But I mean, with those three new ones, I'm definitely getting all three.
Well, the fun of this, I am Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is Ruth Bader Ginsburg's we've worked with Billie Jean King, we've worked with Dolly Parton on her book, or Jane Goodall weighed in on her book. And this is the first hero, though, that I've done where I knew the hero before we started the book. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg's daughter, is a woman named Jane Ginsburg, was my mentor in law school. And so I got to interact with Justice Ginsburg when she was alive numerous times. In fact, we were both the at a wedding ceremony for a mutual friend. We were the witnesses who signed the marriage certificate. And the fun of it is here we are, we're in the back room. My friend's in this beautiful white dress, and we're in this, packed into the room. And I'm the one witness, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg is the other. And Justice Ginsburg starts signing the marriage certificate. And I looked at my friend and I was like, do you really need me at this point? And it was just so funny to me. But my only regret is I never got to tell her that we were doing a book about her.
Well, how does her daughter feel about it?
Well, she helped me with the book, so I hope she likes it. No, I know she likes it. The fun part is they do exactly what you did. We just sent them a stack of the I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg books, and her granddaughter, said it's her favorite gift to give out. Like, now she loves, giving them out as birthday gifts to kids. And again, it's just amazing to watch. We of course put her in the book, her daughter's in the book, but for me, it's one of the few moments where I was able to kind of view that history in real time.
That is so just beautiful how that all comes together. And one of the things I've always appreciated about you is that you really find these little pieces, information that you kind of pull on, these little things that most people would not even know. Like you uncover these jewels. So for Mr. Rogers, what was that?
Yeah, for Mr. Rogers, I mean, some of it is when he was bullied. Some of it is, of course, what his mom gave him. But I think one of my favorite things is Mr. Rogers, when he was a little kid, was sick a lot. He used to have scarlet fever and just, just was, I mean, just sad to say, just, had allergies. And he used to spend a lot of time in bed. But it was there, he used to take little puppets and he used to prop his knees up under the covers and with his toys and cars and little toys around his room, would make little shows. He would enter his own little world of make believe. His parents bought him an actual puppet theater that they would put in their attic, and he would put on little puppet shows for everyone else. And here's the part that I never knew is when we all think of Mr. Rogers as this, great creative thinker. But the very first time that he's one of the few times that when he's on the air, and this is before he has his own show. He has a show that he shares called The Children's Corner. And on one of the very first episodes, they're supposed to show a film reel for kids. It's a children's television program. The film breaks and just starts going around and around. And they start yelling, "Oh my gosh, Fred, you got to do something. You got to do something. We lost the film." So Fred Rogers picks up a nearby puppet. He shoves his hand through the scenery from the back of the scenery. And that's the first time a character named Daniel Tiger appears on the air, a puppet that he's created. And it's not because he's the most creative guy. It's not because he's the nicest guy. He's just reacting to this panic moment where everything goes wrong. And I love that lesson about creativity. All he's doing is relying on those lessons when he was a sick kid in bed and in his attic playing his puppet shows in his world of make believe. And he's just sharing it with the rest of us. And I love that kids can see that firsthand. And of course, see just how great it is to be kind to each other. Boy, we all need that right now.
Oh my goodness. I mean, your books are so wonderful for teaching children that the kindness aspect, we can never get enough people focused on that. And you're right, we do need that right now.
For sure. I mean, and that's why, again, to me, the whole book series, when we started this, it was for my own kids. I never thought that we'd have, 7 million books in print, all those people coming along for the ride. I love the fact that people take our books, whether it's I'm Amelia Earhart, I am Rosa Parks, I am Martin Luther King Jr., or of course, I am Mr. Rogers and I am Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And they're building libraries of real heroes for their kids and their grandkids, their nieces and their nephews. I just adore that people are building those now.
Well, my goodness, Brad. I mean, we could talk forever. I love all of your books, your children and your adult books. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Well, of course, you should start at bradmeltzer.com. And my name is Meltzer, like it's like seltzer that you drink, but with an M like Mary. So you can find all the books there and the kids' books and the adult books. Or you can find us on social media at Brad Meltzer on Facebook and Twitter and Threads and Instagram and any social media site you can name. We are on there, and everything that's on those sites, I write. It is all me, and that's the fun of it. And you get to interact with our community, become part of our family, and you'll be the very first ones to see what heroes we're doing next and what fiction and nonfiction we're doing next for adults too, not just kids.
Such a great selection of books there to choose from. Well, Brad, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you for having me back as always, and thank you for supporting us in whatever genre we do. It means more than you realize.
Well, thank you, Brad. It is always such an honor to spend time with you and to talk about your new books. Make sure to pick up your copies of I Am Ruth Bader Ginsburg and I Am Mr. Rogers at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, support our indie bookstores. You can also find all of Brad Meltzer's books, both adult and children, at bradmeltzer.com. That's MELTZER.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.